Hey now, bud. How about this now? Yep, I finally managed to get my numbers together and open up shop again. Well, sort of. I guess I've only got one type of bomb, but hey, that's more than none, right? This is Legendary Adventures, a Legend of Zelda playthrough podcast. This week we're once again venturing into the Twilight, visiting Castle Town, Zora's Domain, and the Lakebed Temple. Barn's shop sits on the edge of Kakariko Village. It's made from rusted metal panels. The interior is covered with chain link, metal piping, and a nice hardwood floor. We destroyed his storehouse when hunting shadow insects, wiping out his stock of bombs. He was unable to make more until relations were restored with the Gorons, because he relies on materials from their mines. We buy a bomb bag with bombs for 120 rupees. For the first time since Link's Awakening, we can combine bombs and arrows to create bomb arrows. We can use bombs in the boomerang to score a piece of heart. We can also test out our skill at aiming just the arrows by talking to Tallow at the top of a building, perched at the highest point of the canyon. Tallow says he's helping to protect the town by watching for danger. He still wants to see Link's skills with a bow, though. We take out 2 targets, then hit a pole next to Tallow. I can remember hitting the pole on my first shot the very first time I played this game on GameCube, back in 2007 or so. I was able to do it again on the HD version, but it took me multiple tries to hit the pole this time around on GameCube. We get a piece of heart for hitting the pole. I picked up an optional item now on sale at Mallow's shop. It's an eagle mask called a Hawkeye. This acts like binoculars or a gun scope. It's even got a zoom function, and it can be paired with the bow for long-distance sniping. Now it's time to head for... I guess it's actually time to get some mail from the postman. Interestingly, he gave me 3 letters on the HD version, but only 2 in the GameCube version. I honestly didn't check the letters when I received them when playing on GameCube, so I don't know what I received. On the HD version, I got a second letter from Uku, saying she looked forward to seeing Link again soon. And an ad from Mallow urging the recipient to check out his shop. And a letter from Barnes reminding players how to make bomb arrows. Letters in hand, now it's time to head to Lanayru province. We head north and cross Eldon Bridge. There are boulders blocking the path further north. It's a hard gate preventing players who have not yet purchased bombs from moving forward. Of course, it's no obstacle at this point, but as soon as we destroy the boulders, a twilight portal appears in the sky. Black lightning shoots from the portal and hits the center section of the bridge, teleporting it away. As soon as that chunk of bridge disappears, 3 shadow beasts fall from the portal. We can clear them out and make the portal permanent. The Wall of Twilight is just a short ride to the north. We follow the path as it starts to curve and run into the darkness of Twilight. Midna again offers to take us across the threshold, and of course, we agree. What a shame this is the last of the Twilight, Midna says. I had become fond of seeing it cover this world. Or is that really the last you'll see? We then get going. Lanayru province is the largest of the provinces of Hyrule. It covers multiple settlements and regions. We follow a narrow passage west, or east depending on the version, and find a purse laying in the middle of the path. Like the wooden sword in Eldon province, we sniff it and learn Ilya's scent. It requires us to forget the children's scent. The scent leads generally to the south and west, to Hyrule Castle Town. Despite the fact that we saw the castle burning following the attack from Zant earlier, neither it nor the town show any sign of damage. There are no enemies, no invading army. As with the previous areas, the people have turned to spirits, visible only when using Link's wolf senses. Unlike the previous areas, people are not in a constant state of fear. Most go about their daily business and cannot be interacted with in any way whatsoever. The ones we can listen in on talk about a water shortage. Though it doesn't seem like a big deal, more of an inconvenience than anything. There's no concern about drinking water, just bathing. As we continue to follow Ilya's scent, we can see that she passed through a medical clinic in town, and eventually wound up in a bar tucked away in an alley off the main market street. Inside the bar, Link finds Ilya and an older woman keeping watch over a Zora boy. Ilya asks this other woman if she can save the Zora. The woman says she is sent for a doctor. She mentions that whatever happened to this Zora boy could be related to something the soldiers were discussing in the back of the bar. We listen in on the soldiers, and discover the people have been unable to reach the Spirit Spring to offer their prayers at Lake Hylia. A map on the table reveals the lake is southwest of Castletown, or make that southeast again in the mirrored version. We head that way. A great stone bridge sits over the lake. It's a sister bridge to the Bridge of Eldin, known as the Great Bridge of Hylia. And like its sister bridge, it's worn and weathered, showing damage that comes with age. We notice the lake level is extremely low. The surface of the bridge is covered in some sort of liquid. Midna comments that it smells funny. A Twilight equivalent of a Boblin appears and fires a flaming arrow on either side of the bridge, creating two walls of flame that are closing in on Link and Midna. A conveniently placed box can be pushed to the side of the bridge, allowing us to climb up and jump over the side into the water below. There are spirits of Zora at Lake Hylia who mention something must be happening at their home upstream for no water to be flowing. A tall structure sits outside the water. The lower part of the structure is made from wood, but the tall peaked roof is corrugated metal panels painted in various shades of red, pink, and purple with no apparent pattern. The spirit of a clown stands next to it. He's older, balding, and pot-bellied. This is Fire. He and a fellow clown have apparently recently set up a water-top attraction. Only the water has dried up. He mentions the Zora's domain upstream and the Spirit Spring, both of which are out of reach for now. Then he notices a monster, a Twilight Boblin armed with a bow nearby. When we approach the creature, it grabs a nearby piece of hawk grass. Instead of a hawk, a massive Twilight-twisted Kargarok arrives. These are the headless flying creatures with the horn-like calls that we saw earlier. The Boblin mounts the Kargarok and attacks. We have to knock the Boblin off and then defeat it. Once it's gone, Midna mounts the Kargarok. She plans to use it to take her and Link to the water's source. The Kargarok grabs Link in its talons and then flies into a dry canyon that the river once flowed through. The Kargarok moves relatively slowly. A dash button allows it to gain some speed. Throughout the canyon, we'll find Boblins armed with bomb arrows. They only occasionally aim at Link and Midna, and they aren't good aims. I can't recall ever being hit by a bomb arrow during this sequence. But the Boblins will shoot pillars and stalactites on the canyon walls to cause them to fall. They don't fall particularly fast, and they aren't too hard to dodge. When we exit the canyon, we find a single building. It's a business run by a woman with a massive afro hairdo. Her name is Iza, and her hair is a tip that she is the sister of Koro, the oil salesman from Faron Woods. Iza complains about the Zora, wondering what they are doing with the water. She also notes that it's cold. The bottom of the riverbed is covered with a sheet of ice. We can follow it north to reach Zora's domain. The domain is completely frozen. A large waterfall in the center is nothing but a sheet of ice. There are no Zora in sight anywhere. Zora's domain being frozen, and the reduction in water level at Lake Hylia is a clear nod to Ocarina of Time, where Zora's domain met a similar fate. We use Midna's jump ability to scale the waterfall. For the first time during this sequence, we need to time the jumps to avoid getting hit by falling icicles. At the very top, we find the central living space for the Zora. There's a throne for Zora royalty at the back center. We also find a battle with shadow beasts. This time the barriers form a small enclosed area around one of the beasts. We need to make sure we take this one out first before taking on the other two. As usual, a fast travel portal opens in the sky once they're defeated. Midna urges Link to look down. There are spirits under the ice. Using his wolf senses, reveals all the Zora are trapped beneath the ice. Midna says we need to find a way to melt it. She also hints pretty heavily that the solution involves warping away using the portal we just made to somewhere else. This should jog players' memories. We've had to use the fast travel portals to transport an object once before. and the game made a point of showing a giant molten boulder fall from the sky atop Death Mountain. We teleport back to Death Mountain and ask Midna to warp the boulder back to Zora's domain. The boulder melts the ice, getting the water flowing again. As Link and Midna move to depart from the domain and head downstream, they're stopped by a voice. A spirit unlike the ones that we typically see in the Twilight appears. It's a Zora woman, more human-like in appearance than all the others we've met. She wears a headdress that gives her the appearance of having yellow hair. Fins hide her legs and give the impression of a dress. This is Queen Rutella. Her appearance is accompanied with a wonderful arrangement of the Serenade of Water from Ocarina of Time. The Queen explains she was the ruler of the Zora people until just recently. The Shadow Beasts executed her in front of her people as a message. She sent her son, Prince Rallis, to see Princess Zelda and to inform her of the trouble at Zora's domain. She can feel that her son is wounded and fading. She asks Link to save him. Players should instantly connect that Rallis is the young Zora that we saw Ilia caring for in Castletown. She offers Link something that will allow him to breathe underwater if he helps. Link, of course, will help, but first things first. We need to lift the Twilight. The current of the freshly flowing water moves faster, allowing Link to quickly return to Lake Hylia. He washes up in front of the spring of Lanayru. Unlike the other springs, this one is enclosed. Humans have built a structure around it. Inside, the spirit Lanayru again gives Link a vessel of light, in order to collect the Tears of Light. This particular collection sequence is lengthy, and covers a wide swath of territory. We start at Lake Hylia, where we not only round up bugs, but we also take on another group of shadow beasts to open another portal to Lake Hylia. We also take a second ride on the Twilight Kagurok up the river canyon to Upper Zora River. Once again, we visit Zora's domain. We visit Castletown, and we take out an insect by the bar. It's perhaps worth noting that this insect by the bar can be found before the quest even begins, but players cannot collect the tear until they get the vessel. I learned that the hard way when an insect almost took me out on my HD playthrough. It's worth noting that while visiting Upper Zora's River, we can activate another Howling Stone. At this stone, Link howls out the Requiem of Spirit from Ocarina of Time. Once successful, Link is once again transported to another realm. He is high above the fog-covered ground on a floating cliff. This time, the snowy mountains north of Zora's domain are behind him, while Hyrule Castle is behind the Golden Wolf with the one red eye. After howling together, Link is again tasked with finding the Gold Wolf, and we are again shown its exact location on the map. Once all the bugs are defeated, one tier is still missing. Midna notes it's at Lake Hylia. We travel there and come face to face with a boss. It's a giant shadow insect, somewhat resembling a queen ant or queen bee. It's known as the Twilight Bloat. The boss's music is big and forceful. Brass instruments play in unison with a synthesizer. It sounds like a contraption being wound up before it suddenly bursts forward. Sort of like the most jacked, most menacing Jack-in-the-Box ever. Boss fights in the overworld have generally been pretty rare in the Zelda series prior to this, but they are becoming more common. Link's Awakening introduced them with the Lanmola fight in the desert. The Wind Waker had the big Octos and Cyclos fights, and Twilight Princess has a few boss fights on the overworld as well. We can only see the bloat with the wolf senses on. We jump and attack it multiple times to knock it into the water, then use Midna's Dark Energy attack to hit 6 weak points all at once, ending the fight. With the vessel of light filled, the twilight lifts. Link is restored to being a human. Midna becomes a shadow, and the spirit Lanayru appears. Lanayru is a great water serpent. It explains the last fused shadow is found inside a temple on the lakebed, but it also offers a warning, giving Link a vision as it does. Link finds himself floating in a void. He's dressed in his familiar ranch hand clothes. He then witnesses a representation of the creation of Hyrule. 3 goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Furore, descend onto chaos and organize it, creating land, life, and order. They then ascend into the heavens, leaving behind a magical artifact, the Triforce. Link now finds himself standing. There seems to be solid ground beneath him when there is in fact none. A grassy hill in the distance holds the Triforce. It represents the sacred realm, the resting place of the Triforce. Ilia appears next to Link, and they smile at each other. We're told at first there was peace, but over time people began to fight over the Triforce. Suddenly, a knife appears in Ilia's hand. Her eyes have turned pure white, no pupils, no irises. She goes to stab Link, but screams. Her knife falls to the ground. Link then thrusts his sword into the ground. His eyes are also milky white. Ilia is no more. Link runs towards the Triforce, but on the hill 3 dark reflections of him appear. They match the appearance of the various Dark Links or Shadow Links that we've seen throughout the series. They are referred to as the Interlopers. They were skilled magic users. The fused shadow, fully assembled and topped with a match for Midna's helmet, rises from the ground, blocking the Triforce. We're told they attempted to seize control of the sacred realm. With a raised hand, they completely destroy Link, turning him to dust. Or did they? Link now stands among the Interlopers in his vision. He is told the Interlopers were sealed away by the Light Spirits at the order of the goddesses. Their magic, the fused shadow, was broken apart and hidden away. Link, standing in place among the Interlopers, screams. Lanayru issues one final warning. Those who do not know the danger of wielding power will, before long, be ruled by it. As this warning is given, the void is filled with representations of Ilia. Dozens fall from the sky. All of them laugh madly. The power that Link and Midna seek rests within the Lakebed Temple, deeper than any human should be able to go. We, of course, remember. Sorry, Midna just arrived to tell us what we've just remembered. We promised to save the Zora Prince in exchange for the ability to swim and breathe underwater. Before leaving the lake, let's pause for a moment and talk about the music. It's a peaceful theme, backed by strings which perform gentle rising and falling arpeggios that give the impression of waves on the shore. The main melody is primarily played on guitar during the A section, and on strings during the B section. It's gentle with that rising and falling motion throughout. It's evocative of a peaceful, sunny day lakeside. I should mention the only way to leave Lake Hylia at this point is by speaking with fire. The attraction he runs is actually a giant cannon. When fired out of the cannon, we land in a building operated by his business partner, Falby. We can pay Falby to grab a chicken in order to glide down to the lake. There's a floating platform next to Fire's cannon that's set up like a series of large steps. They're too large for Link to climb. There are chests on each level of the platform. The second highest holds the biggest prize, a piece of heart. The Golden Wolf sits on the ledge just outside of Castletown. He pounces on Link, and we are again taken to another realm that is home to the hero's shade. After demonstrating we know how to shield attack, he teaches a new skill. It's the back slice. This is one of the parry attacks that Link could perform in the Wind Waker. Link rolls around behind the enemy and strikes it on the back. It's more complex to perform it, of course. We need to press the A button twice, while pressing the joystick either left or right. We then hit the B button to finish off the attack. Once we demonstrate we can perform the attack, we are ready to head into Castletown. But before we can get there, the postman appears. At least, that's where he appeared in my GameCube playthrough. In my HD playthrough, I did not head straight towards Castletown, so instead I ran into him on the Great Bridge of Hylia. In both versions, I received 2 letters from him. One from Barnes advertising bombs that can be used in water, and another advertising attractions in Upper Zora's River. We have to go to Castletown in order to advance the game. The path heading south from the Great Bridge of Hylia is ultimately closed with a gate that's too high to be jumped with on Link's horse. The world and a number of side quests are now starting to open up though. In Castletown, down an alley that's west, or east depending on the version, from the bar, there are 2 doors that can be accessed. The one furthest from the bar is the Palace of Agatha, the Bug Princess. Agatha is a character the developers pointed to as a highlight. In an Iwata Asks interview, non-player character design lead Satomi Asakawa said, "I really like the way that she was designed. She's dressed like a little girl but with a gothic twist. I think female players will find her appealing. I don't think there's been a character like her in the Zelda series yet, and I hope everyone likes her." Agatha is younger than Link. She has blonde hair tied up in pigtails. She wears a sort of pink padded headband that ties under her chin. The top is accented with golden beetles. She also has beetle earrings. She wears a blue dress over a white shirt with puffy sleeves. The dress is accented with a pink sash, pink butterflies, and a pink leaf design near an uneven hem. She also wears long black gloves topped with lace, and a pair of pink butterfly wings on her back. Director Eiji Aonuma said in his 2007 interview with Nintendo Dream that characters like Agatha were born thanks to the addition of younger generations to the development team. I could never imagine those characters. The people living in Castletown made the place more interesting. Those ill-air characters, Agatha being one of them, have an important role in Zelda games. Agatha is of course obsessed with bugs. She even says Link resembles a grasshopper, perhaps a nod to Majora's Mask. Agatha has invited 24 golden bugs to attend a ball in her palace. None of her honored guests have arrived yet. She asked Link to bring them to her. Most provinces in the game have at least 2 gold bugs in them. The only exceptions are Ordona Province and Peak Province. Most of the remaining provinces have more than 2 bugs split between specific subregions. Eldin Province has 8, split between Lower Eldin Hyrule Field, Kakariko Village, Upper Eldin Hyrule Field, and the Eldin Bridge. By bringing bugs to Agatha, we are awarded rupees. She gives Link a big wallet for the first bug he brings. After that, she will give purple rupees for each of the first of the pair of bugs he brings, then an orange rupee for completing the set. As with the Wind Waker HD, Link's wallet sizes have been increased in Twilight Princess HD. In the original GameCube release, Link's initial wallet held 300 rupees. The giant wallet from Agatha expands the capacity to 600. In the HD version, the initial wallet holds 500 rupees, and we can hold 1,000 rupees after the upgrade. If you collect all 24 gold bugs, Link receives a giant's wallet from Agatha. It can hold up to 1,000 rupees in the original, and up to 2,000 in the HD version. I collected all the gold bugs for my HD playthrough, but I did not for my GameCube playthrough. The moment Link steps into the bar, he's bumped into by a rude doctor. He has just refused to treat Prince Rallis, saying that he's unfamiliar with Zora anatomy. Ilya tries to get the doctor to stop, but he leaves. Ilya notices Link, but she shows no sign of recognition. She turns sadly and walks away. The young Zora is not doing well, and he may die. But the other woman who we saw with Ilya earlier knows who might be able to help. It's the shaman of Kakariko Village. A group of soldiers offer to escort the 2 women to the village. They enthusiastically show their willingness to help because they think Ilya is pretty. The older woman thanks them for their willingness, noting that the journey will not be easy. They have to cross 2 plains with dangerous beasts. The enthusiasm from the soldiers quickly dies down, and they make their exit, most unseen and unheard. A lone soldier, who is shorter and pudgier than the rest, notices that the others have managed to sneak off without him noticing as well, and he makes an awkward exit. The woman screams after the soldiers, calling them cowards, and saying that they better not ever show her faces in her bar again. She then notices Link and recruits him to help them get to the village. She sends Ilia to prepare for the journey. The woman recognizes that Link knows Ilia, and explains that she has amnesia. Ilia apparently found Prince Rallis by the side of the road, and has done all she can to care for him. King Bulblin stalks the Great Bridge of Hylia. The king is looking a bit worse than he did before. One of his horns is broken in half. He is still an imposing force for most, and with the Bridge of Eldin destroyed, the Great Bridge of Hylia is the only viable path to Kakariko Village. What follows is an escort mission. The bar owner drives a covered wagon. Ilia and Prince Rallis ride in the back. Link's job is to protect them. It's a really Wild West setup, although it may recall the ride through Gorman's Ranch and Majora's Mask. And it starts in a way that's not so much Western as it is medieval. We face King Bulblin in a second joust on the bridge. We're not really jousting, of course. Neither the king nor Link has a lance. This time the king holds 2 shields, one on each arm. Link will not be able to hit him with his sword. Instead, we ride towards King Bulblin and fire an arrow at him. We do this 2 times and the king falls from the bridge to the lake below. As King Bulblin falls, a set of keys dislodge from his belt and fly into Link's hand. With the keys, we can open the blood-covered iron gates that block the paths to Eldin Province. We unlock the first gate just south of the bridge. As we ride towards Kakariko, other Bulblin riders attack Link and the wagon. And Kargaroks carrying bombs also attack. The Bulblins fire flaming arrows that can light the wagon on fire. The bombs will scare the horse, and the wagon will veer off course and make a big loop around the field before resuming the journey. I find the Gale Boomerang is a must for this sequence. It can be used to put out fires on the wagon, but it's also great for knocking Kargaroks with bombs out of the sky. Once we reach Kakariko Village, Renato informs us Prince Rallis will recover. He also says regaining Ilia's memory will not be a simple task, but he believes it will happen in time. The bar owner asks if Link would like to use his skills to help Hyrule. It seems she's a part of a group that's doing all it can to keep hope alive within the kingdom. With that, she formally introduces herself. Her name is Telma, and now that we've been formally introduced, it may be a good time to dive a bit more into Telma's character. Eiji Aonuma has identified her as his favorite character in the game. In fact, in his Miiverse interview on Twilight Princess HD, he said he wanted to make a Telma amiibo, but it sounds like he was the only one backing that idea. In other interviews, Aonuma has described a bit about the design of Telma and what he likes about her. His comments may be revealing on more levels than one. I'll let you decide. In Episode 2 of a Nintendo-made Twilight Princess retrospective, marking the release of Twilight Princess HD, Aonuma said, "We wanted to have more of a mature woman in the game. Someone who could contrast with Link and be a more grown-up female character. When we were discussing what kind of character she should be, there's this actress I like a lot, and another who really inspired one of our designers. So we combined them and split the difference. And so that led to Telma, and I thought, yeah, this is the one. I thought it was great because she's exactly what I envisioned. I kinda like the idea of being scolded by someone like that." Telma is a full-figured woman with red hair. Her hair is braided and pulled back into a ponytail. She wears a black jacket that's largely open to reveal a yellow bra. No shirt is visible under the jacket. She also wears a black skirt with a purple apron that has intricate designs on it. Talking about Telma and her bar with Nintendo Dream, Aonuma said, "If there was a bar like this in real life with a motherly bartender, I'd really like to go there." The interviewer described her as dependable, and then Aonuma compared her to an elder sister. Telma asks Link to come to her bar. She mentions it holds a passageway to the castle. She's flirtatious with Link, giving him a wink as she departs, but it's clear that she really carries a torch for Renato. She chases after the shaman, leaving Link alone. That's when the spirit of Rutella reappears. She floats in the air and guides Link. We'll see a sequence similar to this return in at least one future game. Rutella takes Link to the graveyard. Against the far wall, a stone glows, then vanishes. It reveals a crawl space in the wall. After crawling through, Link finds the spirit of the queen at a grave. This is the grave of King Zora. The queen explains that long ago, he made a special armor for the chosen hero. She opens the grave and gives Link the Zora armor. When worn, Link can swim and breathe underwater. Midna seems pleased that Link has found his friends and gotten the Zora armor, but she suggests he forgot something. We haven't, of course. Our next goal is the fused shadow in the Lakebed Temple. But there is no rush to get there, really. In fact, now is a good time to get some side questing done, to gather a few additional items. Without question, Twilight Princess has one of the strictest structures of any traditional open-world Zelda title. At this point in my playthrough of the series, only the Minish Cap rivals it for being one of the most guided experiences. But it's really at this point that we get the first glimmers of the world opening up. First things first. Barnes advertised he had a new type of bomb. We head to his shop to get it. We can carry only one type of bomb in our bomb bag at a time, so we have to sell the regular bombs we had. Barnes operates a second window for buybacks. He pretends to be another person by lowering his welding mask, and he does this all in plain sight. What a strange man. Once we have the water bombs, we can then head for Upper Zora's River. Without the ability to fast travel, we make our way to the north field of Lanayru province. We can take a shortcut behind some bombable boulders underwater in Kakariko Graveyard, then use the cannon to exit the lake. We ride north on Link's horse, and in a rocky area on the north end of the field, we find a cave behind some bombable boulders. It leads to Zora's domain. We head first to the pool in the upper part of the domain near the throne. The boulder that we warped in from Death Mountain sits at the bottom of the pool. A number of Zora note something strange about it, including a pair of eyes that can be seen peeking out from a crack in the rock. Blowing up the rock reveals a Goron. He says he got swallowed by lava when napping, which is how he wound up inside the boulder. As a thanks for freeing him, he gives Link a second bomb bag. It's full of standard bombs, meaning we can now carry both bomb types. Just south of the domain is Upper Zora River. Remember, 2 attractions were advertised here. The first is operated by Iza. She runs the business in the building that's right out in the open of this area. At first it seems that we can't take part in her attraction. She says it's closed. We need to talk to her twice. After talking to her a second time, shadow beasts appear. We take them out like normal. Once they're gone, Iza invites Link inside. She tasks him with clearing the fallen rock and debris from the river to make it safe for people to go down again. That way she can open for business. She gives him another bomb bag, this one to use with his arrows to clear the rocks. We then canoe downriver, using bomb arrows to clear walls of rock. There are other debris that's ultimately optional, but we can target it. Partway through, we meet Iza's employee, who is a Zora. She leaves a trail of rupees behind her to collect that's part of the game. Once we reach the end of the river, we wind up in Lake Hylia, and the employee returns to Iza. We get to keep the bomb bag. At this point, because I was already back at Lake Hylia and I had the bomb bags that I wanted, I decided to save the second attraction of Upper Zora's River for later. The entrance to the dungeon is sealed with a bombable boulder. However, it's too high just to place a bomb next to it. We need to first place one on the ground to blow open a jet of water, then throw a bomb into the water jet to raise it up. That destroys the boulder, allowing us to enter the dungeon. The Lakebed Temple spans 6 floors. There are 2 basement levels and 4 above ground but below water floors. Only 2 towers on the east and west really reach into the 3rd and 4th floors. The second basement level is the boss room, meaning the majority of activity is limited to 3 floors. The music begins with a few plucked descending notes on some sort of string instrument. It sounds deeper than I expect from a sitar, but it has maybe a similar tone. But an organ seems to be the primary instrument for this tune. It plays long, droning notes. A bass line features a long sustained note that seems to stretch for a measure and a half. It's broken by 2 shorter ascending notes before returning to a long note, while a higher organ part plays slow, long notes that move in a similar fashion as the lower part, but there is no change in pacing. This is all accentuated by occasional clattering percussion, hisses, and whooshing noises that frankly sound like someone imitating the sound of rushing water with their mouth. Nothing really comes together like a true, clear melody. This particular piece feels more like the anti-melody pieces that Koji Kondo composed for Ocarina of Time. We enter the dungeon on the 2nd floor, first swimming through a lengthy tunnel while dodging jellyfish enemies known as Bari and giant clams known as Shellblades. It is interesting to note that Aonuma felt swimming was a pain point in this game. While speaking with Nintendo Dream in 2007, the interviewer said that swimming was difficult. Aonuma responded, "It was the same with Majora's Mask. We were worried about the comfort of the swimming controls. This may be an eternal issue." He said this with a bitter smile. Speaking to Nintendo Life in 2016, Aonuma said, "For underwater sections, you need to make the movements heavier to replicate the effect of the water pressure, and this tends to make the gameplay a bit more stressful. We've been trying to find ways to reduce that feeling of stress. Though we gave it a lot of thought when we were making the original in the first place, when it came to the remake, I still felt there was room for possible improvement. So we did our best to make this as stress-free as possible this time." I personally never felt the swimming controls were difficult, and I noticed no change in swimming between the GameCube and HD versions, though I will admit that I did not ever use the faster swim in the HD version. For whatever reason, I just never thought to do it. The dungeon introduces various concepts that appear throughout the space in steps. The swim through the opening tunnel is the first swimming segment of the dungeon. There will be more. Outside of the tunnel, we come to a room full of chews. There's a yellow lever hanging from the ceiling. We can reach it by jumping from a platform and then hanging from it. This opens the door forward. We will find many more of these levers throughout the dungeon. In the next room, there are a number of stalactites hanging from the ceiling. We can knock them down, hitting them one by one with a bomb arrow. The moment the first stalactite falls, Midna will appear and suggest you knock them all down. It doesn't matter if you knock them down first, she will appear and make the suggestion. The notification seems to be built on the assumption that the first stalactite will always fall when the player walks near it. We cross the room using the fallen stalactites as platforms to reach higher areas. It's not long before we reach the central room of the dungeon. It spans 3 floors. There's a rotating staircase that connects the 2nd and 1st floors. Basement level 1 is open and accessible, but players can't do much there at this point. The main goal of the dungeon is to get water flowing from 2 towers on the east and west side into the central room. This will cause the water level to raise in basement level 1, and push it high enough for Link to reach the boss door, which sits inside a central pillar that the staircase pivots on. There is some slight color coding to assist players with this dungeon. One side is decorated with red tile, the other side is decorated with blue. I genuinely never noticed this color coding until I was playing through on this playthrough and looking at it a little more critically. When we first enter the room, the stairs are aligned south to north, with the upper portion of the staircase on the 2nd floor to the south. The lower portion of the staircase reaches to the north side on the 1st floor. The camera zooms in on a locked door on the 2nd floor, on the red side that is to the east or west depending on the version. In the GameCube version, it's west. In the mirrored version, it's east. That sets the goal. We head downstairs to the 1st floor. We continue around the room to the south, and jump and grab a golden lever hanging from the ceiling to rotate the staircase. This aligns the stairs south to north in reverse of the original position. With the stairs aligned this way, we can reach a locked door, but first we need a key. We head just beyond the locked door to find Uku in a pot. To find the key, we head to the blue side, and we hang from another golden handle hung from the ceiling to orient the stairs east to west. We descend the staircase to reach an unlocked door on the red side. A treasure chest is just to the side of the door with the map. Through the door, we find the first of 2 carousel rooms. There's a massive cog that sits parallel to the floor on a central pillar, and 3 platforms are suspended by chains and hanging off the cog. The room has an open ceiling, but the cog is so large it fills most of the opening. The carousel does not turn at this point. There is no flowing water to power it. Instead, we shoot down a stalactite, and we head to a doorway on the side of the room. and cross a freshly created bridge to the central pillar. We knock down a second stalactite on top of a water geyser. Then we platform across a pillar of rock and across the stalactite-topped geyser in order to reach the key. If it's not clear already, the Lakebed Temple is easily the most complex dungeon in Twilight Princess to this point. Just getting this first key is a fairly involved process. But there's also only truly one path to take. All other paths end in dead ends. It is complex, but I think that complexity's been pared down just a bit from Ocarina of Time's infamous Water Temple. For one, the dungeon is full of cutscenes that are intended to make sure that players understand just what effect their actions will have on a given space. Second, the dungeon is ultimately a more guided experience, even if it doesn't always feel that way. After getting the key, we head upstairs and wrap around to a locked door, which sits exactly above the room where we got the key. This door leads to the first two towers of the dungeon. Each of the towers is a spillway that allows water to flow through the dungeon. But first, we have to open that spillway. An apparent fork in the road when we first enter the tower really isn't one. One path leads to a dead end. The other we can only advance through by shooting down a stalactite in order to reach ivy on a wall. We can then climb to a golden lever, hanging from the ceiling, and open a gate. We press forward by going through a bombable boulder, and then through a door where we find a locked door on the path, and then through one door only to run into another locked door. We also encounter a new enemy known as a chew worm. It's a large insect-like creature, which leaps inside into what I've always interpreted to be a large bubble of water, but I'm guessing is supposed to be a large clear chew or slime. We need to get the worm out of the bubble to hurt it. Bomb arrows and the dungeon item both do great at this. We loop around and grab a key, then cross through the central room, walking over the top of the carousel cog in order to loop back to the locked door. Through the door, we ascend a spiraling ramp to the top of the tower. We hang on another golden lever to open the spillway door, sending water down the spiral ramp. We can then slide down the water-covered ramp and hang from a second golden lever at the base of the tower to open a second spillway door, allowing the water to flow into the central room of the dungeon. We're also likely to notice a water wheel has started turning next to a chest where we grab the key. That, in turn, makes the carousel below spin. We then backtrack and head to the room below on the red side. With the carousel now spinning, we can jump over onto one of its platforms and ride it across to two doors that were high on the wall and were previously inaccessible. We go through the first of the two doors to grab a key from a chest. Then we backtrack and ride the carousel to the next door in sequence. We go through a locked door and swim through a tunnel. There are jets of water that players need to use the iron boots to cross through. Down the first of these tunnels, I found a chest with a red rupee. And it was here on my GameCube playthrough that I ran into an unfortunate design decision. In Twilight Princess, Link will put rupees back into chests if his wallet is full, or if the value of the rupee would push Link past his maximum number of rupees. It's a change from previous games, and I hate it. Open chests can be a useful navigational aid. Likewise, with Twilight Princess, dungeons hide 2 pieces of heart in every dungeon. Open chests can help players narrow down where they have searched and where they would like to search. This decision eliminates that help. It also makes finding a chest feel less rewarding, in my opinion. Aonuma was aware of this criticism. In his 2007 interview with Nintendo Dream, he said, "There are pros and cons to it. Everyone said that an open chest becomes a mark that you've already been to a room, and you wouldn't know if the treasure chest was closed. Some people said it's always been like that in the Zelda series, and it would be weird if we changed it this time. On the other hand, you struggle to get to a room, and the treasure chest has somewhere between 50 or 100 rupees, but your wallet is full. It'd be cruel if you took those rupees without actually getting them." He continued, "We were hesitant on what to do, but since shopping is a feature to have fun with, we decided to give everyone the opportunity to get some money. We wanted the player to remember he left some rupees behind in a dungeon, and then go back there when he needed the money, and that's why we ended up using this system. All I can say is I have never returned to a dungeon simply to get rupees, and I only find the system annoying. Thankfully, Twilight Princess HD nixed this mechanic, and Link will not return rupees to chests. Anyway, we were swimming through a tunnel. At the end, we rise up through a hole on the floor into a circular room. No prize if you guess that this is the mini-boss room. And in a real throwback to titles like Ocarina of Time, which encouraged exploration of a 3D space by occasionally forcing players to look up, we have to look up here in order to spot the boss and start the fight. Not unlike, say, Queen Goma. The mini-boss is the Deku Toad. Its boss music is quirky. The melody line is constantly traded between horns, accordion, and string. There's plenty of discord, but not in an unpleasant way. Rather, it's off-kilter and a little silly. Overall, it has a similar tone to Jalhala's theme from The Wind Waker, while still being its own distinct thing. The toad itself is covered with what appear to be eyes, but are in fact eggs. It will shake them off and they'll transform into tadpoles which swarm and attack Link. The giant toad itself will leap into the air and attempt to crush Link. A convenient shadow on the ground allows us to avoid being crushed. After the toad lands, we have a chance to wail away on its weak spot, its tongue. I learned while writing this script that you can apparently throw or shoot bombs into its mouth to trigger the damage phase as well. After a few rounds, the toad falls, spitting up a treasure chest as it dies. Inside the chest, we find the dungeon item, the claw shot. The claw shot is a variant on the hook shot, of course. It's tipped with a grabbing claw, which we can use to grab ivy-covered walls in addition to specific claw shot targets. Link also hangs from targets now, and when hanging from the ceiling, he can raise and lower himself on the claw shot chain. Time to move on to the blue side of the dungeon. It's largely similar to what we experienced on the red side. We enter by grappling onto a claw shot target on the ceiling in front of the upper red door. A golden lever once hung there. Now it is missing, but we can still activate it thanks to the claw shot. This rotates the stairs so the water now flows down them and through the door on the lower level on the opposite side. The water makes the water wheel through the blue door turn, allowing us to go deeper in. We reach a room with two carousels side by side. There are a number of platforms missing from the carousels, but we can latch onto the spots where they once hung. We use the claw shot and some ivy-covered walls to ascend above the carousels to the other spillway tower. The tower is largely similar to what we experienced on the red side. It is appropriately more complex, and the claw shot is put to use to get to ledges that are otherwise out of reach. The spillway has deteriorated and has gaps. We use the claw shot to cross them. At the top, we again open the spillway gate by hanging from a golden lever attached to the ceiling. The compass is in a chest under the spillway, and it can only be reached with the claw shot. We again pull a second lever at the bottom of the tower to get the water flowing into the central room of the dungeon. This will cause the water level to rise high enough for us to reach the boss door, but we still need the big key. As with the red side, the water puts the carousels into motion. We descend back to the lower level and use a carousel to reach a door opposite from the carousel room entrance. Through this door, we find a maze room. We need to swim through an underwater maze to reach a room with the big key. I feel like I often get lost in this maze. The room we're trying to reach is accessible through an underwater tunnel, but that is actually the exit. If we enter this way, we cannot reach the chest. Instead, we need to navigate to an above-water door on the far side of the maze. Once we're in the correct room, we can open a grate in the middle of the floor by hanging from a hookshot target on the ceiling. We then lower ourselves down to get the big key. Then we head back out to the central room in order to face the boss. I should perhaps mention the two heart pieces in the dungeon. One is atop the chandelier in the central room. We can get it with the claw shot. The other is in the red carousel room. We need to rotate the stairs to divert the water into that room. That floods the room and causes a bridge to rise, which we can in turn use to reach the heart piece. The boss is fought at the bottom of a massive circular arena. It's shown on the map as being only one floor, but really it's vertical enough that it could span multiple. The boss is named Morpheel. Its name and introduction are intended to remind us of the Ocarina of Time boss Morpha. It's a tentacle with an orb-shaped weak spot that moves through it. Only in this case, the weak spot is an eye rather than an amoeba. The differences don't end there, however. Morpheel reveals multiple tentacles which rise out of the sandy bottom of the room, along with a freakish double mouth, each lined with teeth. The first phase boss music features frantic strings, militaristic drums, and blaring horns. It's dramatic and tense, and the arrangement makes it sound like it's underwater. It also doesn't really match the fight for me. I generally find it's best to stand back from Morpheel. When you're the proper distance away, it cannot grab you with its tentacles. You may have to wait a little longer for the eye to get within range as it moves from tentacle to tentacle, but you're not going to take much in the way of damage. When the eye is close enough, as with Morpha, we use the claw shot to grab it and then land a hit or two. Morpheel occasionally spits out bombfish, but I don't find them to be much of a threat either. After 3 hits or so, the second phase of the boss begins. Morpheel emerges from the ground, revealing that it is in fact a giant, monstrous eel. We were only seeing its head before. The eye has settled onto the creature's back at the base of its head. The music is even more dramatic. The frantic strings remain, but the horns now perform dramatic stabs, accentuated by crashing cymbals. The fight does not get much harder. Morpheel can really only attack by eating Link. It will occasionally suck in water in order to try to eat him. I admit that I did get eaten once or twice, but I was never sweating during the fight. In order to hit the weak spot, we claw shot onto it and then wail away as the advantageously blaze. After another 3 rounds or so, the boss falls. The creature's eye explodes, leaving behind a heart container. The body then dissolves into the square twilight particles, and reforms into the third and final fused shadow. This one is shaped like the horns on Midna's helmet. Midna appears and takes it. She asks Link not to resent her for all that she put him through. She says that she needs the fused shadows. Midna tells us Zant is a false king with a false power. She plans to prove it with the fused shadow. She apologizes for dragging Link along with her, and creates a portal to exit the dungeon. But as soon as we leave and return to the spring of Lanayru, Link finds himself face to face with Zant. The light spirit rises again from the pool to attack the usurper king, but he uses his powers to swat it away. Twilight forms within the spring, transforming Link back into a wolf, and revealing Midna from the shadow. Zant takes the fused shadows from Midna. He refers to them as a withered power and tosses them aside. "Why do you defy your king?" he demands of the imp. "You must be joking," is Midna's reply. She accuses Zant of abusing their tribe's magic. Zant says his magic is not their tribe's old magic, rather it is the magic of his god. Link comes to and attempts to attack Zant, but he is quickly repelled. As Midna checks on Link, we see a sharp magical fragment disappear into his forehead. Zant pulls Midna close to him. "My Midna, did you forget? That beast is one of the Light Dwellers who oppressed our people," Zant says. "You will never be more than a shadow in their world. You cannot consort with their kind. But if we can make their world ours, Midna, light and darkness will meet at last." The false king wishes to blot out the light of Hyrule to allow darkness and shadow and the people of Twilight to rule. As he speaks, his mask begins to open. His mouth is revealed. It's a horror show. The corners of his mouth are slit. Strings of saliva stretch between his lips. "And that, Midna, is why I need you," he says, whispering in her ear. "Not just for me, but for all our people. Lend me your power." Midna struggles out of Zant's grip and returns to Link's side. "So be it. I return you to the light world that you covet," Zant declares. Using his magic, he flings Midna over the spring. The twilight fades and the light spirit returns. Midna screams. After a brief moment, Midna, Link, and Lanayru vanish in a bright flash of light. Zant stands alone, seemingly unfazed by what he just witnessed. Link finds himself in Hyrule Field, north of the castle. Midna lays on his back. She has the appearance of a photo negative. Her breathing is labored. The voice of Lanayru, unseen, directs Link to go to Princess Zelda, still locked away in the castle. What follows is one of the most iconic sequences of the game. This is largely down to the music. It's a piece known as Midna's Lament. It's a mournful piano piece. The left hand plays arpeggios while the right plays a call and answer melody. The call is the A section of what I refer to as Link's Courage theme, but what composer Toru Minegishi calls the main theme. This time it's sad and concerned. The answer is Midna's theme, weak and fading. During the B section of the piece, we hear Midna's theme more prominently, but it's played at a faster, sharper pace, suggesting desperation. Rain falls throughout the sequence, matching the mood. We remember Telma said her bar had a passageway to the castle, so we head there. As we run through the streets of Castletown, people see Link and scream and cower in fear. The door to Telma's bar is ajar, though when we try to make our way inside, Link is thrown out. Outside the bar, a window opens. It's Telma's white cat. She introduces herself as Louise. She of course recognizes Link by his smell, as all animals do. She is intrigued by the hero. As she talks, Midna manages to gasp out a plea to see Princess Zelda. Louise tells Link to climb into the bar through the window. The attic, she says, is connected to the castle waterway. Inside the bar, we slink across shelves, being careful not to knock pots from the shelving and giving Link away. We're also able to walk across tight ropes to cross the room. We can listen in on conversations as we do. A Goron grumps about being in the city. He was ordered to escort Telma back to the bar. It's clear he wishes to return home. Telma laments that monsters now walk the streets thanks to unreliable soldiers. A woman and two men sit at the back of the bar and talk about Link. They've heard from Telma that he defeated King Boblin on the bridge, and got Telma, Ilia, and Prince Rallis safely to Kakariko. Telma's attic connects to a strange house. Its floor is covered with piles of gold, even as water leaks in and pools in the corner. A golden statue of a man with a cat on his head sits on a throne on one side of the room. A Poe, the ghosts of the Zelda world, haunts the room. Only its lantern is visible to the naked eye. Using Link's wolf senses, we can see the full ghost. In addition to the lantern, it holds a large, sharp scythe. Its body seems to be made from crudely stitched together fabric. When we strike the ghost to the ground, a dark, glowing orb emerges from its chest. With a press of the A button, Link pounces on it and rips the orb from the Poe's body. The golden statue speaks. It's a man named Giovanni. He sold his soul for riches and was cursed to become a gold statue. The orb that we ripped from the Poe was a piece of Giovanni's soul. He asks Link to collect 20 of them so that he can be restored to his human form. This is a major side quest of the game, which is analogous to the Skulltula quest from Ocarina of Time. Like the Skulltulas, the Poes can only be found at night. Having accepted the quest, Giovanni opens a treasure chest which hides the passage to the castle waterway. Under the castle, we light torches and burn spiderwebs to advance. We eventually come to a familiar spiral staircase, the same one that we climbed with Midna at the start of the game. We emerge on the castle roof. With Midna incapacitated, we cannot use her jump to cross the roof as we did before. Instead, gusts of wind raise bridges that we use to cross the roof to the tower. Inside, Midna falls to the floor. As Zelda checks on her, Midna asks Zelda to break the curse on Link. She says Zelda needs him to save Hyrule. Zelda says she cannot change him back. She says the power that binds him is an evil power, and the way to break it is to obtain the Master Sword from the Sacred Grove in Faron Woods. Midna is fading fast. She says her last request is for Zelda to tell Link where to find the Mirror of Twilight. Midna, I believe I now understand just who and what you are, Zelda replies. What follows is one of the most baffling scenes in the entire series. To this day, I don't know what to make of this particular story thread, and the story threads that come much later in the game. She seems to give her life to Midna. Zelda glows, and energy seems to pass from her into Midna. The imp then begins to glow. She's lifted from the ground and begins to float. Midna calls out to Link, urging him to stop Zelda. The Princess of Hyrule fades away, seeming to die. Midna is restored to her former appearance. The only difference is that she can now exist in the light world with no ill effects. She urges Link onto Faron Woods. As we depart, Midna looks back to where Zelda once stood. Zelda, she says, I've taken all you had to give, though I did not want it. As Link and Midna return to Hyrule Field, a magical barrier suddenly forms around the castle. This barrier has a yellowish color, and we assume it to somehow be connected to the villainous attempt to overthrow Hyrule. Midna clenches her teeth and shakes her fist, only to look at her hand, the one that Zelda held as she sacrificed herself for Midna. The imp composes herself, and the pair head towards Faron Woods. We'll go there next week. If you want to follow along, please subscribe. If you've already subscribed, thank you. You are amazing. I'm Paul Riley, and I will see you next week.